Hey, hi there. So thank you for joining me once again. We're going to be doing some leg stretches and strengthening today. Now you'll see that I've got a couple of blocks here. If you are a little bit tight in the backs of the legs, which is very common, then it might be a good idea to grab yourself a couple of blocks. You might also want to have something to kneel on because we're going to be working quite a lot on our knees in this particular little session. If you don't have a blanket handy or a foam kneeler, what I always do is just to get on my mat, go towards the back and then pick up the edges, fold the edges of the mat in, and that will make you a neat little cushion on which you can pop your knees. So once you've done that, please bring your hands underneath your shoulders, your knees underneath your hips, and suck your belly up a little bit. So we're going to start with a little bit of cat and cow movement to start to warm the spine and the rest of the body up. So as you inhale, you can draw your chest forwards between your arms, lifting up your tail and your gaze. And then as you exhale, tuck your tailbone down and under, rounding through your spine and looking towards your feet. Let's do that a couple more times, trying to coordinate movement with breath. So as you inhale, chest comes forwards, spine arches. As you exhale, we tuck the tail and round through the spine. Couple more. Inhale forwards and exhale round, just enjoying that lovely articulation of the spine. Inhale forwards and exhale round. And then please come back to a neutral spine. So by that I mean halfway between those two positions. And we'll start to stretch out and move the legs a little bit. So if you like to take your right foot, curl up your right toes, and then slide that right foot out to the back of the mat with the toes curled under, and push out through your right heel. So you might start to feel a bit of a stretch through the Achilles tendon and through the back of the leg generally. And we're going to pick up that leg just parallel to the floor. As you exhale, we're going to curl that knee in towards your nose. You can round your spine here as if you're going to try and kiss your knee. And then I call this next one dog against a lamppost. So you're going to lift your knee up like a dog against a lamppost. And then we're going to take the foot up towards the ceiling so that the thigh comes back parallel to the floor. So you might feel that in your glutes and your hamstrings. We'll repeat that a couple of times. So curling in, exhaling. As we inhale, we open the leg out to the side, take the foot up towards the ceiling, keep the belly tucked up, and then we curl in, exhaling again. Inhale out to the side, up to the ceiling, belly draws up, back flat, push the heel up a bit, and then curl it in. Let's do one more. Out to the side, up to the ceiling, curl it in. Then we're going to reverse direction. So taking it up and back, then out to the side, in towards the nose, and back to the ceiling. Couple more. Out to the side, into the nose, up behind, push that heel up, try and keep the belly drawn in, out to the side, dog against a lamppost, knee to nose, try and kiss your knee, and then push that foot back up towards the ceiling. Keep the belly drawn in. We could finish this strengthening section here with some little pulses, pushing the heel up towards the ceiling. Just a few times. One of the problems with hamstrings is that sometimes tight hamstrings are often weak hamstrings. So a little bit of hamstring and glute strengthening never go amiss. And then return that foot to the floor. Let's take a moment in child's pose. So send your hips to your heels. Rest your head down. You could rest your head on a block or on the floor or on stacked fists. Take a couple of breaths there. Just noticing how it feels on the two halves of the body. And then we move to the other side. So taking the left leg, curling left toes up, slide that left leg out to the back. Again, a little push out through the heels. And as you're doing this, you want to be pushing the floor away a little bit with the hands. Otherwise, sometimes the shoulders get a bit soggy. So push the floor away to engage the shoulders. Then we lift up that leg, Again, we're going to do 4 rounds in each direction. So it's knee to nose, out to the side, up to the ceiling, and in. Out to the side, up to the ceiling, knee to nose, out to the side, up to the ceiling, knee to nose. Last one in this direction, to the side, to the ceiling, to the nose. Reversing, to the ceiling, to the side, to the nose, to the ceiling, to the side, belly draws up, to the nose, to the ceiling, to the side, to the nose. Last one, ceiling, side, and nose. Let's pop that foot back down, that knee back down. Once again, take a little moment in child's pose, tiny little rest before we move on. So we're going to play a little bit with downward facing dog next. It's a very common pose in yoga, and one where people often get very preoccupied with trying to get their heels on the floor. And for most of us, that's really not going to happen because of the shape of the foot or the tightness of the calves and hamstrings. So let's try and come up into downward facing dog really safely, because it can hurt your back if it's done incorrectly. So we're going to be hands on the shoulders. We're going to curl up both sets of toes. We're going to send the thigh bones backwards, push the floor away with the hands, and then very slowly start to lift your bum into the air. Now what I'd like you to think about here is keeping your back nice and in a nice healthy shape. So the sit bones are moving up towards the ceiling, and you'll see my knees are still bent and my heels are off the ground. You can let your head drop to a comfortable position. And then from here, just gently walk out one heel at a time, being careful not to round your lower back. So we're just gently stretching out the legs. We'll do that a couple more walks. And then lower the knees back down. Inhale, chest forwards and up. And exhale, round and down. So you can do that as many times as you feel is right for you. But we're going to move on. We're going to step the right foot forwards. Now here is where you might like to use your blocks. So if when you put your right foot forwards, your hands feel like they're going to lift away from the floor, then popping your blocks either side of that foot is a nice way to bring yourself a little bit further up. Make sure your foot's well forwards, so you'll see my knee and my shoulder are approximately in line with each other. And then as you inhale, we're going to drive the right knee forwards to start to drop into that left hip. And you can lift up your heart space here, roll the shoulders back and down. So we start to stretch out through the hip flexors, through the quadricep muscle on the front of the leg. Then we're going to change that by pushing the hips back and up. Now the front leg starts to straighten. I'll just move my block so you can see that. Now we're getting a stretch through the back of the leg. Be careful you don't sit down here. If anything, you want to push your bum up and away. We're going to repeat that a few times, and we're going to change it a little bit as we go. So we're going to drive that right knee forwards again, dropping into the left hip, lifting up the heart, rolling shoulders back. Then it's hips back, straightening through the front leg. Now, if it's comfortable for you, you can start to draw your toes away from the floor here. So just the heel is connected down to the mat, and that will give you a deeper stretch through the back of the leg. We come forwards again, drive the right knee forwards, dropping into the left hip, lifting up the heart, maybe lifting up the gaze a little bit as well. And then we push back, hips go back, toes can come up, hold it there for a moment. Now you can stay here, or we could add a little variation to this by turning the right toes a little out to the right, and that will just take the stretch perhaps somewhere interesting. Notice where it goes. Keep the toes drawing back towards the face and try and keep the bum pushing up and back. Doesn't matter if this leg's not perfectly straight. long as you're feeling a bit of a stretch. Let's go forwards again. So driving that right knee forwards, lifting up your heart. I'm just moving my block so that you can see properly, by the way. You don't need to do that. And then push the hips back. Now you may well find as you push your hips back that you do need to move your blocks, and that again is perfectly fine. So go ahead and do that if that makes you more comfortable. This time, once again, we're going to pull the toes towards the face. So the heel is digging slightly into the mat. And we're going to turn the big toe over to the left to take the stretch somewhere different again. Take a few breaths there. And then we're going to bring those toes back up towards the ceiling. Drive that right knee forwards for the last time, dropping into that left hip. Now you can add a little twist here. So using your block underneath your left hand, take it onto a comfortable surface, and then reach the right arm up towards the sky, opening up into a lovely twist. Now you might find that bottom shoulder tends to sag forwards and up towards the ears. Push the floor away with that left hand as you reach up with the right. And then as you exhale, we lower that hand down and step your foot back. Time to change sides. So we're going to step the left foot forwards. Again, on your blocks if you need to. We drive that left knee forwards, dropping into the right hip, lifting up the heart, shoulders back and down. Lovely long neck. And then we push the hips back, tailbone moving up, straightening through that front leg. So for this first one, I'm keeping my toes down. So that will give me a little bit of a stretch through the front of the leg. And then I drive my left knee forwards, dropping into the right hip again. Lifting up the heart, shoulders back. Then driving the hips back and up, straightening through the front leg. And don't worry if it's not perfectly straight. This is not a ballet class. We're going to draw the toes back towards the face a little bit this time. Walk your blocks back if you need to. And we're just looking for that pleasant, comfortable stretch. If you start to get the shakes, that's not good. We definitely don't do pain. Pins and needles is not the best either, so try and avoid any of those. Let's come forwards onto that foot again. Walk your blocks forwards if you need to. Dropping into the right hip, lifting up the heart, lifting the gaze forwards. And then we send those hips back. Walk the blocks back if you need to. Toes towards the face. Sorry, excuse me, I've had a bit of a cough over the holiday. And I'm going to turn those left toes out to the left this time. Just noticing where that stretch goes as you turn the foot outwards. Keeping the toes drawing a little back towards the face. And then rotating back onto your heel, toes point forwards as we drive the left knee forwards, walking the blocks forwards, dropping into the right hip, lifting up the heart. Okay, last one. Move the hips back and up. So be careful that you don't sit down on your heel. You want that tailbone to be pushing up. A lot of the stretch comes from that action. Then we draw the toes back. And then we can start to turn the the left toe, that's the one, left toe to the right. So we're rotating the top of the thigh bone inwards, rotating the kneecap inwards to bring that stretch into a slightly different place in the leg. Okay, and then the final little bits, we bring the toes to point back up to the ceiling, drive that left knee forwards again, walk your blocks forwards if you need to. Let's add that twist, so right hand on the floor or on a block, and we sweep the left arm up towards the ceiling. Looking for the arms to be roughly 12 and 6 o'clock if your shoulders will allow that, opening across the chest. And then as you exhale, let's lower that hand down, step your foot back. Once again, we can widen out the knees, send the hips to the heels, and finish in child's pose. So thank you all for joining me on this little video. I hope to see you on another one very soon. Bye-bye.